Please be seated. Good afternoon. On behalf of the Frank J. Guarini School of Graduate and Advanced Studies, it is my pleasure to serve as host for our annual Investiture Ceremony. I would like to welcome those of you in the audience on this memorable day, Dartmouth faculty and staff, family and friends, members of the Upper Valley community, and of course, our graduating PhD and master's students. I also want to welcome those with me here on the platform, and this year we have an especially impressive group. Dartmouth Board of Trustees Chair Laurel Ritchie, and we can save she deserves it, but let's save the applause for the rest of them. Trustees Emily Bakemeyer and James Jackson, President Philip Hanlon, Provost Joseph Helbley, Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Sciences Elizabeth Smith, Dean of the Geisel School of Medicine Dwayne Compton, Vice Provost for Research Dean Madden, Geisel Dean of Faculty Affairs Leslie Henderson, former Dean of Graduate Studies Roger Sloboda, and all of my esteemed faculty colleagues. Before we get things rolling, I want to take a few minutes to speak about where graduate studies at Dartmouth came from, where we are today, and where we are headed. As this year marks Dartmouth's 250th anniversary, it seems an appropriate time to reflect on these things. You might be surprised to learn that while Dartmouth granted its first PhD in classics in 1885, over the next 75 years, it awarded only 9 more PhDs. However, since 1960, Dartmouth has grown its graduate student population to over 800 students in 16 PhD and 11 master's programs, and we've awarded 7,000 degrees. As you probably know, in 2016, the trustees formally established the School of Graduate and Advanced Studies, the first new school at Dartmouth in over 100 years. And just last spring, President Hanlon announced a landmark gift from Dartmouth alumnus Frank J. Guarini, class of 1946, to support the newly named Guarini School of Graduate and Advanced Studies. So you can see, even in the context of an institution that exists over centuries, you have been at Dartmouth during very exciting times. So what do we see as we look toward the future? As Dartmouth moves into the next 250 years, the Guarini School will work to ever more effectively achieve its mission, to foster postgraduate academic programs of the highest quality, catalyze intellectual discovery, and prepare a diverse community of scholars for global leadership. I'm excited to work with the administration, my colleagues on the faculty and in the Guarini School office, the Graduate Student Council and community, and the Dartmouth alumni who have agreed to serve on our newly established advisory board to help shape the future of the Guarini School. And I'm confident that working together, we will tackle any challenges that come before us and achieve great things. And as for your futures, I have no doubt that you will become thoughtful leaders in academia, education, industry, policy, government, or the private sector. But no matter what you end up doing, I urge you to use your position, your training, and your skills to help educate those around you. Your advanced degrees place you in a position of great privilege and responsibility, and part of that privilege and responsibility is explaining, humbly and often in lay terms, the importance of what you have done at Dartmouth and what others are doing across the academy. Explain that we are not just sitting in our ivory towers working on esoteric endeavors, but we are striving to understand the world, the people who live in it, and how they interact. Explain that scientists are skeptical and that the hypotheses we propose are tested by experiments and then ultimately confirmed, refined, or disproven. Explain the power of critical analysis and the value of a liberal arts education. Become ambassadors for thought, reason, and enlightenment. This is no small task, and I know things will not always be easy, but I also know you are up to the challenge, and I am excited to see what you will achieve. It's now my pleasure to introduce Professor of Engineering and Dartmouth Provost Joseph Helbley. Before becoming provost last year, he served for 13 years as Dean of Dartmouth's Thayer School of Engineering. And during the 7 years I've been graduate dean, he has not only been a great colleague on the senior leadership team, but for me personally, he's been an invaluable source of advice and wisdom. He is a strong advocate for graduate students, and I'm delighted to have him here today.
Thank you, John. Welcome, everyone, and congratulations to our graduates, PhD and master's level graduates. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to have an opportunity in a moment to help celebrate all that you've accomplished. I'd like to start by saying just a few words about Frank Guarini, whose generosity Dean Kuhl has mentioned, and whose generosity has helped support graduate and postdoctoral study at Dartmouth in unprecedented ways, and who unfortunately could not join us today. Frank dedicated his life to serving the public and creating positive change in everything that he touched. Serving his country in the U.S. Navy during World War II, serving 7 terms representing my home state of New Jersey in the United States House of Representatives, serving through appointments as both a delegate of NATO and as the United States representative to the General Assembly of the United Nations. Frank continued to demonstrate his commitment to engaging actively with some of the most pressing challenges of his time. His commitment to public service is, for me, truly inspirational, and I do not believe there could be a more fitting namesake for the Guarini School and for graduate education here at Dartmouth. Because of Frank's vision and his belief in the power of a Dartmouth education, we stand here in this setting today. And in that spirit, it's important to remember that the degree you will be receiving tomorrow is much more than a simple piece of paper that recognizes your academic accomplishment. In the spirit of Frank Guarini, and echoing what Dean John Kuhl said just a few moments ago, I hope that for many of you, it also serves as a stepping stone on a path to engage in the public debate, engage in the public conversation, use your skills to serve the public good, very much as Frank Guarini has done throughout his remarkable life. As an academic, I fully understand how easy it is to dive deeply into a problem and become narrowly focused on your own important piece of scholarly work. This is, after all, how academic research thrives. Committed scholars focusing intensively on narrow questions, becoming world-leading authorities with deep and subject-specific knowledge. And it's easy to believe that in that world, your research and your voice play no role in connecting with the public, in informing the public debate, in engaging in the issues of the day. But you are not the world's typical graduate school. Graduates, you are different. You have been educated here at Dartmouth in a liberal arts framework that encourages you to think about the broader relevance of your work, to think about the relevance of your skills and knowledge to changing people's lives. Which brings me back to the example of Frank Guarini. I'm not saying that you need to follow in Frank's footsteps and run for Congress. Although, at least in this country, there are precious few scholars and even fewer PhD scientists and engineers in positions of political leadership, and I think it wouldn't be a bad thing for all of us if that began to change. But I'm asking each of you to think about, as you go forth from your graduate education, what it would mean to use not just your knowledge, but your voice and your unique experience that you obtained here at Dartmouth to engage in the public debate, to engage in the issues of the day in whichever way is natural to you, whether it's in your local community or on the national stage, but do so in a way that pushes you outside of your comfort zone. The world needs your learning, the world needs your science, that is unquestionably true, but in the spirit of Frank Guarini, I would say it also needs to hear your voice. Congratulations, Dartmouth graduates. I look forward to seeing you receive your degrees on the stage tomorrow.
Thank you, Provost Helbley. Will the students receiving the Doctor of Philosophy degree please come forward?
Kyla Ray Rogers, Program in Experimental and Molecular Medicine. Savannah Jane Barnett, Program in Experimental and Molecular Medicine. Daniel Haller Brimberry, Chemistry. Heidi M. Chapman, Program in Experimental and Molecular Medicine. James Eric Carmichael, Psychological and Brain Sciences. Sarah L. Chari, Mathematics. Robert Evan Clayton, Physics and Astronomy. Michael C. Kukan, Chemistry. Luke Glenn Eglinton, Psychological and Brain Sciences. Edmund J. Ferris, Program in Experimental and Molecular Medicine. Sarah Catherine Gibbons, Chemistry. Elizabeth Ann Surgison, Molecular and Systems Biology. Yipeng Shi, Physics and Astronomy. Nicholas John Howlett Warren, Program in Experimental and Molecular Medicine. Anne Kelly Woodbury, Chemistry. Weiwei Yang, Molecular and Systems Biology. Scott Andrew Alpizar, Biological Sciences, and he will be hooded by Professor Michael Hoppe. Suman Kalyan Bera in Computer Science, and he will be hooded by Professor Amit Chakrabarty. Stephanie Joy Booley, Program in Experimental and Molecular Medicine, and she will be hooded by Professor Yolanda Sanchez. Juliana Bosler, Molecular and Systems Biology, and she will be hooded by Professor Gio Bosco. Do you guys arrange to go side by side? Belin Zoltan Cacho, who will also be headed by Professor Gio Bosco and also Molecular and Systems Biology. Moises Chavez, Biochemistry and Cell Biology, hooded by Professor Dean Madden. Alan Joseph Collins, Microbiology and Immunology, hooded by Professor George O'Toole. Julia Orazzi, Microbiology and Immunology, hooded also by Professor George O'Toole. Adam Charles Gave-Krigo, Psychological and Brain Sciences, hooded by Professor Kyle Smith. Lori Christine Delatour, Program in Experimental and Molecular Medicine, hooded by Professors Hermes Ye. Melanie N. Dennis, Mathematics, hooded by Professor Peter Doyle. Jennifer Worthen, Biological Sciences, hooded by Professor Eric Schaller. Jennifer Marie Franks, Quantitative Biomedical Sciences, hooded by Professor Michael Whitfield. Alexandra Lee Giese, hooded by Professor Robert Hawley, Earth Sciences. Riley Afton Hamsch, Experimental and Molecular Medicine, hooded by Professor Todd Miller. Colleen E. Harty, Microbiology and Immunology, hooded by Professor Deborah Hogan. Jai-Woo Lee, Quantitative Biomedical Sciences, hooded by Professor Margaret Carragus. Leslie Elizabeth Lupien, Program in Experimental and Molecular Medicine, hooded by Professor William Kinlaw. Eileen Mary Martinez, Program in Experimental and Molecular Medicine, hooded by Professor Matt Harvda. Irina Mihayeva, Microbiology and Immunology, hooded by Professor Ambrose Chung. Mavra Nasir, Quantitative Biomedical Sciences, hooded by Professor James O'Malley. Bingjiye Ouyang, Earth Sciences, hooded by Professor Zhaohang Feng. Ellen Lorraine Palmer, Quantitative Biomedical Sciences, hooded by Professor Tracy Oniga. Alexander Titus, Quantitative Biomedical Sciences, hooded by Professor Brock Christensen. Owen Michael Wilkins, Program in Experimental and Molecular Medicine, hooded by Professor Brock Christensen. And Qian Yang, Quantitative Biomedical Sciences, hooded by Professor Tor Tostason.
Let's have one more round of applause for all of our PhD recipients. Next, I'd like to ask the students receiving the Master of Science degree to please come forward.
Computer Science. Samid Ali, Computer Science. Shi Deng, Computer Science. Evan Honold, Computer Science. Fahud Hamid, Computer Science. Davina Kumar, Computer Science. Skylar James Perot, Chemistry. Deepti Poluru, Computer Science. Anya Subasic, Computer Science. Barry Austin Yang, Computer Science. And Yansen Yin, Computer Science.
And let's have a round of applause for all of our Masters in Science recipients. And now I'd like to ask all the students receiving the Master of Arts in Liberal Studies and Master of Arts degrees to please come forward.
Ready? Okay. Carlos Ernestos Tigreros, General Liberal Studies. Joshua Edward Acomando, Creative Writing. Kunis Fatimu Unwer, Globalization Studies. Jakubus Reza Karl Ludwig Bachmüller, Globalization Studies. Wesley R. Benash, General Liberal Studies. Melissa Bouchard, creative writing. Tanae Angela Freeman, general liberal studies. Marianne R. Hunt, creative writing. Mushal Imran, cultural studies. Srinivasa Padmavanthi Sri Sathya Kandala. Oh, creative writing. Sorry about that. Margarita Kremneva, creative writing. Hayden Stephen McNeil, general liberal studies. Fabio E. O'Donnell, globalization studies. Lydia Shahi, creative writing. Jari Soon, general liberal studies. Kan Yuan Wu, globalization studies. Alba S. Elliott, comparative literature. Aaron Karp, digital music. Ibe Xian, comparative literature. Asel Uvalieva, comparative literature. Ryan Alexander Villegas, comparative literature. and Abdullah Taha, Comparative Literature.
Let's have one round of applause for our Masters of Arts students. And I'd like to thank Leslie Henderson for reading all the names. All right, now it's time for some awards, and our first award is the Graduate Teaching Award, which is given annually to the graduate teaching assistant or assistants who best exemplify the qualities of a college educator. The selection process is by no means easy, and this year we received an exceptionally high standard of candidates. So high, in fact, that choosing just one was impossible, and so we have two recipients. The first is Melanie Dennis from the mathematics program. You can just stand there and I'll embarrass you for a minute. Okay. Melanie came to Dartmouth from Middlebury College, where she was mentored by Professor Emily Proctor, who received her PhD in mathematics from Dartmouth and inspired Melanie to pursue a PhD at Dartmouth. Melanie's easygoing yet dedicated approach to teaching has impressed many of her peers and advisors and also made a significant contribution to broadening access to audiences that might otherwise struggle, as well as eliminating barriers for students, especially those with learning disabilities. As a result, Melanie harnesses the strengths of her students, empowers them to feel at ease with the material, and become independent learners. Needless to say, Melanie's teaching evaluations were consistently outstanding. Because of her skills, she has been recognized by 2 outstanding graduate teaching awards from the Dartmouth Center for the Advancement of Learning, served as a Governor's Institute of Vermont instructor, and served as chapter president of the DREAM program, whose goal is to enhance educational aspirations among low-income youth. Without doubt, Melanie Davis is a most worthy recipient of the Teaching Award. Congratulations. The second recipient of the Graduate Teaching Award is Elizabeth Studer from the Ecology, Evolution, Ecosystems, and Society program. And she's not here today, right? Okay. Liz came to Dartmouth with a master's in entomology from the University of Georgia, as well as an interdisciplinary certificate in university teaching. While at Georgia, she resolved to pursue a career in the professoriate and has sought many opportunities to deepen her teaching skills. She was recognized by Dartmouth faculty members across the EES program for her teaching approach, and in almost every case, her nominees noted the generosity of her pedagogy. Hallmarks of her teaching are not only going above and beyond what is required, but presenting genuinely engaging and dynamic learning opportunities. Liz takes her role as an educator very seriously and aims to impart not just knowledge, but skills that her students are able to adapt to their own interests and abilities. She makes sure to match her student motivations and environments that are inspiring and in which students can take over control for their own learning. Her enthusiasm and dedication to teaching has also found an outlet in community outreach, including development of citizen science initiatives, participating in local outreach events on and off campus, and working with the Fairbanks Museum and Planetarium. Congratulations to Liz for all of the work she's done to inspire the next generation of scientists. Our next award is the Graduate Community Award, which recognizes outstanding community service undertaken by graduate students on behalf of the entire graduate community at Dartmouth. This year, we are delighted to honor Sally Demerigen, a PhD candidate in the Molecular and Cellular Biology program, also called MCB, where she works in the Microbiology and Immunology department. Sally, come on up. Given the pressures of graduate student life, finding times for others often falls lower on the to-do list. Not so in Sally's case. In fact, since her undergraduate years, where she was recognized for outstanding leadership and service at the Lebanese American University, Sally has made community development a priority. Soon after joining Dartmouth, Sally found opportunities to enrich the lives of those around her through participation in numerous outreach events, lending her time and knowledge to grow the STEM community both on campus and beyond. She has volunteered in the annual Science Day at Dartmouth, an entirely student-coordinated event, and partnered with local nonprofits to enhance their STEM outreach efforts. Sally has also helped the Dartmouth community, serving as student representative on the MCB Graduate Committee, advocating on behalf of her cohort, and supporting the department in recruiting efforts through organizing and running recruitment events. After a 2-year term as department representative on the Graduate Student Council, she was elected to be the GSC Service Chair. During her tenure, Sally ran numerous activities that brightened and enriched the lives of many in the Upper Valley. From practical events, including organizing meals at the Haven and establishing an annual day of service, to more fun opportunities, including bingo at elderly care homes, making cards for children in the hospital, and more, Sally finds opportunities for everyone to be part of and asks not what I can get, but rather what I can give. Sally is undeniably a worthy recipient of the Community Award this year, and we are proud to recognize her work today. Congratulations. It is now my pleasure to present the Hannah Croasdale Award, given annually to the graduating PhD recipient who best exemplifies the qualities of a scholar. The award honors Professor Hannah Croasdale, who performed research and taught biology for more than 40 years and was the first woman to achieve the rank of full professor in the arts and sciences at Dartmouth. Given the high standard of research across Guarini School programs, the selection process for the Croasdale Award is not an easy one. The high caliber of nominees speaks to the rigor of the scholarship here, and the letters of recommendation from advisors left us with no doubt we have the brightest and best in our research groups. This year's recipient of the Croasdale Award stood out not only for his contributions to research, but also his approach to mentoring. Balint Kacho, please come up. Balint received a master's in biology from Emory University and joined the MCB program working for Professor Gio Bosco. During his career at Dartmouth, he has received numerous awards for his academic output and for his contributions to the community as a mentor and teacher. Driving his scholarship is a timeless question of nature versus nurture. This has shaped his research on learning, memory, and social behavior in fruit flies and resulted in publications as first author in a number of important journals of the field. Balint's groundbreaking research has demonstrated that fruit flies learn from their environment, and while those learned memories fade with time, they may be shared with other fruit flies who did not learn their lessons the hard way, suggesting there is some kind of fruit fly language spanning multiple species. His mentor wrote of his output, "He is a machine with a sophisticated brain that knows how to get things done. Voluminous writing is one of his strong points, and getting Balint to slow down has been my greatest challenge in mentoring him." His work cascades from one discovery to another. His meticulous planning and color-coordinated charts and notes allow for synergistic connections to be made in his research, producing numerous spin-off projects. His impressive attention to detail and meticulous planning have positioned him as a star mentor in the lab. He has frequently and graciously taken on the role of teacher for the new generation of students in his research group, and his advisor notices how he has patiently and consistently helped to train those who have come after him. In addition to serving as a lab mentor, he has served on the recruitment committee for the MCB graduate program, co-chaired the Dartmouth Annual Neuroscience Day, and gone above and beyond in his role as teaching assistant, in which he received exemplary performance evaluations from students and faculty. Balint will move from Dartmouth to be a postdoctoral researcher in one of the leading laboratories in epigenetics at the University of Pennsylvania, where he plans to work on understanding the social behaviors of leafcutter ants. It is with great pleasure that we present Balint Cusso with the 2019 Hannah T. Crosdale Award. Congratulations. I'd now like to introduce Professor Dwayne Compton, Professor of Biochemistry and Dean of the Geisel School of Medicine, who will be presenting the John W. Strobane Award.
Thank you, Dean Cool. The John W. Strobane Medal for Excellence in Biomedical Research recognizes a graduating PhD candidate from one of the degree-granting programs in the medical school. The medal is given to a student who best exemplifies the qualities of a scientific leader based upon personal qualities of intellectual curiosity, dedication, a commitment to the pursuit of new scientific knowledge and teaching, as well as a sense of social responsibility to the research community. This year, it is my pleasure to announce the award winner, Morgan Gilman. Morgan is not in attendance today, but I would ask for your patience as I'll tell you a little bit about her accomplishments and why she is this year's award winner. So Morgan conducted her thesis research in the laboratory of Dr. Jason McClellan in the Department of Biochemistry and Cell Biology and earned her PhD in the Molecular and Cellular Biology graduate program. Morgan entered the MCB graduate program in 2013 following completion of both a bachelor's and a master's degree at the University of Maine. Her thesis research utilized biophysical approaches to dissect the structure, conformational states, and antibody recognition of the respiratory syncytial virus surface protein. RSV is a very common respiratory virus that causes cold-like symptoms. However, it's particularly devastating to infants and elderly, where it can oftentimes become a life-threatening disease leading to either bronchiolitis or pneumonia. Through her work, she mapped the binding sites of antibodies to the RSV surface and demonstrated which antibodies would act as the most effective therapeutics to block virus binding to cells in the airway. This work informs the rational design of vaccine immunogens that can stimulate the production of anti-RSV antibodies. Through her work, she published 6 first-author peer-reviewed papers in journals such as PLOS Pathogens, Nature Communications, Science Immunology, and Immunity. Moreover, she has a patent pending on the development of the RSV vaccine strategy that her work revealed. And not stopping there, she broadened her scope by developing structural solutions to surface proteins on Ebola virus, which she shared a first authorship on a peer-reviewed article that was published in the journal Science. Drs. McClellan and Barlow, who served on her thesis committee, note that Morgan is, and I quote, displays an unusual level of independence and curiosity in advancing her science, and many at Dartmouth sought her out to brainstorm on structural approaches, and she gladly takes time to understand their questions and to help advance their research. Morgan completed all of her degree requirements and defended her PhD thesis earlier in the academic year, and she's moving on to postdoctoral training with Dr. Cruz at Harvard Medical School. So I would like you to join me in congratulating Morgan, and I will be communicating this to her immediately after this ceremony. So thank you.
Thank you, Dean Compton. I'd next like to introduce Professor Donald Pease, Professor of English and Comparative Literature, the Ted and Helen Geisel Third Century Professor in the Humanities and Chair of the Master of Arts in Liberal Studies program, to present the Mal's Thesis Excellence Award.
Thank you so much, Dean Coe. It's my honor to present the Mal's 2019 Thesis Awards. With generous gifts from Nicholas Byam Shaw and the Clyde and Diane Brownstone Foundation, the Master of Arts in Liberal Studies program inaugurated the Byam Shaw Brownstone Thesis Excellence Award in 1999. The award was established to recognize the outstanding interdisciplinary research to which each of the concentrations in the Mal's program cultural studies, globalization studies, art and creative writing, general liberal studies, is dedicated. The superb theses completed by this year's graduates made selection of the 2019 recipients of the award a most difficult, yet all the more gratifying task. The MALS Committee decided to grant the MALS 2019 Excellence in Globalization Studies Award to Kang Juan-Vu for driving enemies apart: how nuclear-armed states decouple adversarial alliances. Kang Juan-Vu, would you please come to the stage? Framed by impressive historical research into international relations literature on alliances and nuclear weapons proliferation, Kang's thesis focuses on longitudinal case studies of relations between North and South Korea since the 1990s, and the Soviet Union and West Germany during the Cold War. And he does so to test the hypothesis that the choice between hard and soft decoupling depends on the ideological distance separating the nuclear-armed state from the junior ally it is targeting. The chair of Boston College's PhD program in political science, the home for the country's leading experts on alliance strategies, underscored the originality of Kang's thesis as the basis for awarding him a doctoral research scholarship. Please join me in congratulating Kang Juan-Vu. The MALS Thesis Award in Creative Writing goes to Satya Kandala for In Her Time. An intergenerational novella, In Her Time delves into the lives of two generations of Indian women and dramatizes their different dilemmas, tensions, limitations, successes, to explore with cultural tact and poignant depth the huge gulf separating traditional India and contemporary, postmodern, and utterly cosmopolitan Indian culture. The result is a portrait of Indian society which displays in portrayals bred of genuine insight the clash of old truths and new realities in a vastly changing society. Her advisor, the distinguished novelist Alan Lelchuk, describes In Her Time as good enough to be published and hopefully make its literary mark. Satya, congratulations. Mashal Imram is the recipient of the 2019 Excellence Award in Cultural Studies for the Immigrant Writes Back, Diasporic Fiction, Gendered Islamophobia, and Living as a Pakistani Muslim Woman in America. Please congratulate Mashal Imram. In this painstakingly documented project, Mashal deploys her fluency in disparate idioms of cultural theory and her aptitude for close textual reading to add the neglected topics of gendered Islamophobia and the Pakistani diaspora to the field of cultural studies. Her thesis advisor, the noted ethnic studies scholar Regine Rosenthal, characterizes Mashal's project as a significant intervention into the present cultural and political moment in the United States, and singles out her insider's scrutiny of the multi-layered, minoritized positioning and interlocking oppressions of Pakistani, Muslim, immigrant women as particularly praiseworthy. Mashal, congratulations. Jerry Sun receives the 2019 Mao's Thesis Award in General Liberal Studies for her thesis titled China's Pink Cyborg, Cyber Nationalism in Hmong Language. Please join me in congratulating Jerry Sun as she comes to the stage. Jerry Sun's imaginative application of her multi-pronged research project positions her to argue that what Western observers myopically describe as the Chinese government's Great Firewall, in fact, generates a complex power dynamic, what Jerry names China's pink cyborg, in which official ideology, popular culture, and digital technology work together in multiple, interconnecting, and contradictory ways that transcend the domination of the authoritarian state. Following a scrupulously researched examination of the media history of 3 different waves of online nationalism since 2000, Jerry finds that Beijing's propaganda strategy is shifting from a top-down dogmatic style into one that is constantly in negotiation with the viewer's emotions and feelings to engender a deep identification with the state, popularly known as Hmong nationalism. Impressed with her reflections on the nuances and contradictions involved in the relationships among the Chinese state, the people, and digital technology, the chair of the Department of East Asian Languages and Civilizations at the University of Chicago has offered Jerry Sun a fully funded 6-year doctoral research scholarship that she will begin in September. Please join me in congratulating Jerry Sun.
Each year, we select 2 student speakers to offer advice and insight to our graduates. Our first speaker is Satya Kandala, who is a master's student in the Master of Arts in Liberal Studies program.
Thank you so much, Dean Cool, for the introduction. Good afternoon, my fellow graduates, peers, and my friends and family. When I first decided to attempt this speech, I was plagued by all the reasons I shouldn't. I have an American colonial Indian accent that I'm not too comfortable with. I don't particularly revel in public speaking, can you tell? And what was I going to talk about anyway? I tried to push these thoughts aside and focused on the one good reason I should attempt this speech, because I want to. And that is Adulting 101. So here I am. I thought long and hard on what I should speak about. Here are a few ideas that I thought were relevant. The burden of student loans, not the most original. Social life at graduate school, a deep dive into why canceling plans is the new normal. Pursuing parental approval, not so fun. Or maybe something profound, like connecting the dots looking backwards, or doing silly, unconventional, spontaneous, and seemingly irrational things. Or maybe about how there is nothing in the world more powerful than a good story. Nothing can stop it. No enemy can defeat it. Wait, that's not a commencement speech. Spoiler alert, that is Tyrion Lannister defending the choice of Bran the Broken in the Game of Thrones finale. Hashtag not my king. And then my friend said, be funny, tell a joke. I thought, okay, I could tell a joke. Here it is. A graduate student walked into a bar. Like we have the economic or the mental health to be able to do that. That's hilarious. Finally, as an homage to my creative writing degree, I decided what I wanted to do was to plot out the graduate school experience in the hero's journey format. And by the way, the word hero is not gender specific. The hero's journey, or the monomyth, is a common template for a broad category of tales. Think Lord of the Rings, The Lion King, Star Wars, or even Harry Potter. The more I thought about it, the more similarities I saw. This template starts with the hero in the ordinary world, or as I would like to think, life before graduate school. The hero's journey begins in earnest with a call to adventure, as does graduate school. I'm pretty sure all of my peers can remember the exact moment they decided to go back to school. We heeded the call thanks to or in spite of all the advice we got. Next is meeting the mentor and crossing the threshold. For me, this would be moving across continents to Dartmouth College. Next is tests, allies, and enemies. Look around the room. There's a Sam to every Frodo and a Hermione to every Harry. And at this age, most enemies are our own insecurities. I remember how jittery I was the night before my first creative writing submission. I was, or am, a journalist, and the night before my first submission, I questioned everything. The next step in the journey is facing the innermost demons. Grad school is a curious time. We are challenged with education when our peers are going on to achieve more things that feel more important, at least in the moment. For example, I turned 30 living in the dorms of Dartmouth. Suffice to say that was unexpected. Where was my white picket fence dream with 3 dogs? Up next in the journey is the big ordeal. I call it thesis. You may know it as exams, assignments, paper submissions, or presentations. Next on the journey is reward, resurrection, and the road back. This is where we are at right now. We achieved what we set out to do, kind of. And now, just when we thought we are ready to claim our prize, we must face bigger demons. Job search. And once you have a job, real life begins. Wait, where's the fun part where the hero and her friends go on vacation and indulge in self-care? You get the idea. Jokes aside, the reason I chose to talk about the hero's journey is because I believe that we are all heroes. We might not feel that way right now, with a million things on our mind and our to-do lists, jobs, finances, relationships, but let's take this moment to acknowledge what we've achieved. We pursued knowledge, even when it wasn't fun, convenient, or the most popular thing to do. We pursued self-fulfillment and self-betterment. We are our own heroes. Please join me in congratulating my peers on this journey.
And our second speaker is a PhD student from the program in experimental and molecular medicine, Nicholas Warren.
Good afternoon. I would like to start off with some words of thanks. Thank you to the Guarini School of Graduate and Advanced Studies and Dean Kuhl for all of the hard work you do to promote graduate education and develop effective science communicators. I'm truly honored to have this opportunity to share my thoughts this afternoon. Thank you to all of the professors who have mentored and guided us to push our personal limits and the limits of human knowledge ever higher. Thank you to all of the parents, spouses, significant others, and friends for being there for us through this challenging period of life. Thanks to all of you, the graduating students, for the dedication and perseverance that gives us such a joyous occasion to celebrate together today. The full impact of our advancement to science may not be immediately evident, but make no mistake, we have made an everlasting impact here at Dartmouth and in the greater society. Each one of us has spent several years advancing the understanding of the greatest challenges our society faces. Collectively, that advance is extremely profound. Regardless of your field of study, your research has contributed to the noble task of increasing society's complexity. The psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi described complexity as the product of diversification and integration, both simultaneously expanding what it means to exist and ensuring that the parts combine to make a cohesive whole. Csikszentmihalyi argued that successful societies and individuals must continually devote energy to keep disorder at bay by increasing complexity. Complex systems and individuals are more resilient in the face of crisis, like how you continue to put together your seminar even though the last experiment was a disaster. They are more adaptable to change, like having your studies scooped but already having a new direction prepared. Complex individuals are well-rounded, like the so many of you who have also pursued enriching hobbies outside of the lab, such as rock climbing, dog agility training, or homebrewing the perfect ale. At the same time your research was enriching our understanding of this complex universe, your hobbies and extracurricular activities were expanded what it meant to be a graduate student. Just as healthy societies need diverse points of view, individuals also need to spend energy on diverse interests like work, family, exercise, and creative outlets. But integration, taking a step back to look at the bigger picture of how the diverse parts fit together in a society or your personal life, is necessary to ensure overall health. Integration means considering the ethics and possible unwanted side effects of new technologies and new medicines. Integration means managing your schedule to avoid burnout. Csikszentmihalyi argued that the most effective way to create a more complex society is to start with ourselves. If enough individuals make a conscious effort to always choose the more complex options in life, from the careers we choose, the food we eat, the culture we consume, or the memes we share. Together, we will push society to increase complexity in revolutionary ways. Increasing complexity is not easy, but neither was earning a doctoral or master's degree. We knew it wouldn't be easy when we applied to our programs. We knew it wouldn't be easy to pass qualifying exams or publish papers. At every point along the path to today, we consciously made the decision to further challenge ourselves. Just as JFK argued in his famous speech, we should go to the moon not because it is easy, but because it is hard. President Kennedy knew that doing something never done before was inherently worthwhile. He knew that aggressively challenging ourselves, exploring the unknown, and investing in science would yield incalculable and unimaginable benefits for society. Next month marks the 50th anniversary of the landing on the moon. The advancement of technology since that giant leap for mankind has been monumental. We have worldwide satellite communications, smaller and faster interconnected electronics, trillions of dollars worth of economic advancement and quality of life improvement. The technology we have today and the society we live in are far more complex than President Kennedy imagined when he challenged us to go to the moon. Where would we be if we had settled for something easy? The opposite of complexity is entropy. As you may have learned in undergraduate physics, the second law of thermodynamics states that entropy, or disorder, will continually increase in a closed system. An external input of energy is required to decrease entropy and bring order, like Marie Kondo helping us tidy our apartments. Entropy describes many of the greatest challenges facing our society. From the opioid epidemic, mood disorders, loss of wildlife and their habitats, and ever more damaging natural disasters from global climate change. It is sometimes hard to distance ourselves emotionally from the ills of society which we study. For me personally, the main reason why I wanted to research new treatments for cancer was because while I was in high school, cancer took my grandmother. During my time here at Dartmouth, my uncle lost his life to cancer. It is a sign of a complex society that it was possible for me to help fight a disease that has significantly impacted my family. Our efforts as scientists help society better understand these grave challenges and provide means to address them. But as my colleagues in environmental science have said to me, scientific understanding is no longer the rate-limiting step in affecting change. We need a more complex system to take our specialized knowledge and integrate it into action. Who is responsible for making that more complex system? I suggest that we scientists must play a significant role. Yes, conducting high-quality research is vitally important. Find your niche research subject and bring it to life. But we must increase our individual complexity and leave the laboratory once in a while to engage with new audiences. Follow the lead of Albert Einstein, Carl Sagan, and Robert Oppenheimer, all of whom took that step and loudly voiced their concerns about nuclear proliferation. Follow our contemporary leaders, Katharine Hayhoe, Naomi Oreskes, who advocate for action on climate change. Follow the lead of Jane Zelikova and Kelly Ramirez, who founded the organization 500 Women Scientists to make science a more inclusive place to work. Participate in science pubs, start a podcast, write opinion columns, write to your representatives at any level of government, comment on regulatory changes, or get involved with your professional society. From my experience advocating for science in the US Congress and the New Hampshire State Capitol, I know that our representatives want to hear about our publications, our ideas, and our concerns. I know from experience that members of our community want to hear about science from scientists. Find your niche communication method and speak loudly. Today marks our transformation from graduate students to professional scientists and agents of change. As former Dartmouth College president John Sloan Dickey said, "There is nothing wrong with the world that better human beings cannot fix." From all of the friends I have made and the people I have met here at Dartmouth, I know you are all extraordinary human beings. Look back on your accomplishments. Congratulations. Look forward to the challenges ahead and have courage. Breathe in this joyous moment together and let's celebrate.
It's now my distinct pleasure to introduce Philip J. Hanlon, Dartmouth class of 1977, professor of mathematics and Dartmouth's 18th president. In my first conversation with President Hanlon in 2013, he expressed to me his vision for Dartmouth, which included establishing a School of Graduate and Advanced Studies. And today, because of his efforts, support, and guidance, his vision of the Guarini School of Graduate and Advanced Studies has been achieved. President Hanlon, thank you for everything you've done to support graduate students at Dartmouth, and thank you for giving today's closing remarks.
Well, good afternoon, and it is my profound pleasure to be here today as we celebrate you. You are most recent graduates from the Guarini School of Graduate and Advanced Studies. Congratulations to each of you on your master's or PhD. I can still remember my feelings as I sat about to be hooded as a new PhD at Caltech, some now like 38 years ago. Gone was the exuberance of my undergraduate commencement. In its place, a feeling of deep and quiet satisfaction for having achieved, after years of focused effort, the pinnacle of preparation within my field. Knowing that I had completed independent research, moved the frontiers of knowledge, seen what nobody before me had. It was a powerful moment, one that I hope you're all experiencing here today. And let me point out that by pursuing advanced training in your field of study, you have fully committed. You are all in to the foundational premise of the Academy, that your mind, your intellect, is the most powerful tool you have to make positive change in the world. That the great issues facing humankind are complex and multifaceted and can best be addressed by applying reason and logic to data and evidence to arrive at valid, meaningful conclusions. That's what the Academy is all about. And although that may sound like a no-brainer, never has the world needed that simple idea more than it does today. In 2015, Michael Dimmock, the president of the Pew Research Center, addressed our board of trustees. His job that day was to describe to us the class of first-year students that would be enrolling at Dartmouth a decade in the future. And Michael shared with us a series of studies that showed that we, as a society, were in the midst of a generational shift that challenges the very essence of what we're celebrating today. With social media on the rise, he told us that the new generation of students was apt to rely more on crowdsourcing to validate truth than on well-trained experts who had dedicated the majority of their lives to in-depth research in their respective fields. Kevin Kelly, the co-founder of Wired magazine, summed it up this way: truth is no longer dictated by authorities, but it's networked by peers. Along came fake news and the rise of anti-intellectualism, driving what our own professor of government, Russ Muirhead, and his Harvard co-author, Nancy Rosenblum, calls the new conspiracism. In their latest book, entitled "A Lot of People Are Saying," they observed that in contrast to traditional conspiracy theories, which were characterized by explanatory reasoning and held together intellectually in some way, today's conspiracy stories lack any intellectual construct at all, but they're validated simply by the number of times that they're repeated. So you get the idea. This is kind of a downer so far. The devaluing of expertise is pretty alarming stuff for all of us connected to institutions of higher learning. Places like Dartmouth that are in the business of producing experts across a wide range of academic disciplines. Experts like you, all of you. So I actually don't share this as a downer. I share this not to imply that the future looks grim, but rather to motivate and excite you to carry your knowledge to a world that's in dire need of deep thinking and rationality. In this time of fake news and anti-intellectualism, you are the antidote. When I look out today, I don't see an auditorium full of graduates. I see an army for truth, ready to serve as the credible voices in an otherwise confused and casually indifferent world. And I know all of you are up to the task. On campus, we will miss you. Throughout your time with us, you brought us bold thinking and academic urgency with your hunger to make a difference in the world. You've helped bridge academic generations between our undergraduates and our faculty, serving as role models for young talent and inspiration for us elders, myself included, continuing to push us to push the boundaries of knowledge in our fields. On this day, I have pride and confidence in all of you. So congratulations once more on what you've accomplished at Dartmouth. May your brilliant intellects shine light in this world, and may your lives be full of success and happiness always. Congratulations.
So that concludes our ceremony, and we're going to have a recessional now. And following the recessional will be a group picture of all our hooded students and as many faculty you want to bring join us in front of Dartmouth Hall. And then right after that, we will move to the Zantop Garden, which is on the far side of Rollins Chapel, a little bit farther than Dartmouth Hall, for a reception. If you could all stand for the recessional, the platform group will proceed out, followed by the students, and then you're free to follow the students out. And we're going to go right to the front of Dartmouth Hall. Thank you very much.